Tell us about your background. I know you've probably told this story a million times, but it's so great. Tell us how you got to where you are now with Bayberry Uniforms in Fayetteville.
Sure. It's a very interesting story because if you asked me 5 years ago, hey, do you see yourself selling medical uniforms? I'd be like, what? You're crazy. I would never think that I would be where I am today. Definitely, God has been great in my life. For those of you that don't know, I come from Cuba. As you know, it's a very difficult place to grow up with. Picture living in the middle of nowhere with your neighbors being 1,000 miles away, in the country, living off the ground, an outhouse. I told this story last time. I want to tell it again because I think it's very, very funny, but also very eye-opening for the average person. The first week in America, we didn't know how to operate the shower.
Oh, yes.
So, for the first week we're here and we're trying to figure out how to operate this thing, because we were used to just go into the well, get the bucket of water, put it in 3 stones, heat it up, and then that's how you take a shower. I mean, that's all we knew. And first week in America, we didn't know how to operate it. It wasn't until the social worker came to visit, like the week after, and she was like, do you guys need anything? And she spoke Spanish because we didn't speak English at the time too, by the way. And I was like, yeah, we would like to see if we can get the shower working because it doesn't seem like it's operating right. And I go and I show her, like I turn it to the left, cold, and to the right, hot. It doesn't do anything. And she goes, oh, let me show you. And then she pulls it out.
Yeah.
And water starts flowing. It was like,
well, if it makes you feel better, I am now in my 40s and I still struggle with when I go to like hotels. I'm pulling on the faucet, I'm yanking on it. Sometimes it's not that easy, especially if you're coming from somewhere where you didn't have that liberty. So give yourself a little credit.
No, it's okay. And we all know you don't like to take a shower anyway, Mike.
I do not.
Don't try to make up any.
Do not. That's why I'm over here and you're over there. I'm stinking up the room.
Social distancing.
Social distancing.
But yeah, no, it's very humbling and very eye-opening, and it's a story that I always tell everyone, and I try to, remind myself because, you open the fridge, there's food, and if you don't have food, you just go to the grocery store, you go to the gas station nearby, and just grab whatever you need off the shelf. I mean, before when I was hungry, you have to go out and, oh, here's a mango tree, let me climb it, or throw rocks, see if I can, have a snack, So growing up in those conditions, it certainly makes you dream about things and makes you want to do better, right? I was fortunate enough that at the time, this was back in 2010, in Cuba, there was a Switzerland embassy that had U.S. personnel in it. So there wasn't an U.S. embassy in Cuba, but there was a Switzerland embassy that had U.S. personnel.
Interesting.
Now, my dad, being a pastor, didn't do well with the authorities in Cuba because they're very restrictive on groups of gatherings. So obviously, being a pastor of a church, that's not something that the government plays well with. So he started to have a lot of problems with the authorities on, the gatherings and whatnot, persecuted. So, he went to the Switzerland embassy and requested asylum at the U.S. with the U.S. personnel. And it was a 2, 3, 4-year process of interviews, shots, a lot of paperwork, a lot of money involved. But eventually they opened the doors and they said, okay, pick a place. Where do you want to go? And we were like, I don't know. Where am I supposed to go? I don't know anything. So we borrow, at the embassy, there was a computer with internet because the average person doesn't have access to the internet. And she goes, here's Google, right? And you Google top 10 places to raise a family in the U.S. And guess what city popped up at the time?
I'm going to guess Syracuse.
Syracuse, indeed. So we picked Syracuse, and they were like, sure. They arranged everything, and I'll never forget. It was on October 19th of 2010. We're coming down on the airplane, Syracuse Hancock Airport, and I could see all the colors, man. It was like unbelievable. Picture tropical place you grow up with. It's all you know. Same season all year long, and now you come and you see all these beautiful colors and the cars and the screens, and it was so beautiful, and that to me was like, this is it. We've made it. We're in America. We're free. We can say whatever we want. We can do whatever we want with our lives. We don't have to have the government watching everything that we do, or our neighbor watching, what are you doing or what are you cooking? Because by the way, If you kill a cow in Cuba, you get more years in prison than if you kill a person. That's a fact. Google it.
What?
Yes.
If you kill a cow, that's worse than killing
a person.
Is that a religious thing?
No, I wish that. See, if it was a religious thing, there would be a basis for it, right? Like India.
Sure.
But it's not a religious thing. It's just the government owns it all. And
The government in Cuba loves cheeseburgers.
And no,
I don't
you know
know.
what? There's a saying on the street. I don't know if it's true or not, but everyone used to say that Fidel Castro loved ice cream so much that that's how, that's why the cows are all his.
I
And
guess.
I'm gonna say that's not true, but he did love ice cream.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a very, very
That's Abel. So I love hearing you. First of all, it's just I have goosebumps. It's such an amazing story because, obviously it's an amazing story, but I look at us as just, typical Americans. We're complaining about things that we think are so important and so vital. And when I hear you speak, I realize just how spoiled we are, and we forget, how lucky we are here. And, with everything that's been going on in politics, it breaks my heart because I know, I keep in the back of my mind, I hear people like you speak and know your story, and it makes me realize how lucky I am. And I just hope we never lose that as a country. And it's so inspiring, that you come here and you tell that story. What was there a moment? Was it the religious thing that kind of spurred you guys coming over to America, or what was the jump off? What was it like? We gotta go.
Yeah, it was pretty much we gotta go. But the United States, it's the ultimate destination for anyone seeking a better life, a better place. It's the ultimate place for freedom, right? It's the dream, right? It's the dream. You can talk about all the different countries in the world that are great, but America, it's the ultimate destination. That's where everyone dies to get to. There's thousands of Cubans that have died crossing the ocean on their own on handmade watercrafts rafts that they're trying to make it over to the U.S. It's just unbelievable.
And to prove your point, and to prove my point of what I said of how we're spoiled Americans, earlier you were like, we had to get out of Cuba. Our neighbors were 1,000 miles away. And I'm sitting here going, man, I wish my neighbors were 1,000 miles away. You see how spoiled we are? But anyway, so you come to America. How old are you at this point?
I was 14 at the time.
So you're 14 years old. You're integrating into American schools. What's that like for you?
Man, that was the toughest time. To tell you the truth, that moment in life, it's like an empty space in my head. Like I barely remember anything. I don't know if it's a coping mechanism that the body decides like, hey, I don't need this information. Let's delete it so we can embrace culture, language, and try to, get space up here for, getting ahead. But it was very tough. I mean, I definitely remember one instance where everyone laughed at the classroom because the first thing I learned how to say in English was, I don't know. Oh. Just to
it's a good one to learn.
Avoid questions, right? And I was in the classroom, and the teacher asked a question specifically to me, and I know because it's looking at me as he's talking. I just said, I don't know. And then the whole class started laughing because what he said at the time was, do you know how to say anything other than I don't know?
And you said, I don't know.
And I said, I don't know.
Well, you answered the question.
I answered the question, right?
You know, obviously. Wow.
But it was very tough. But I think that's where the survival mode kicks in, right? It's fight or flight. Mm-hmm. When you're faced in a situation where you're against the wall and there's no place else you can run to, you have to face it, right? I had to learn English in quick, in a very impressive amount of time because I'm going through high school just like a regular kid, right? And here I am not understanding the subjects that are being taught. Yeah. So in order for me to get through high school, I had to learn English as fast as I could. And guess how I did it?
That was my next question.
Watching =3 on YouTube. I don't know if you remember =3.
I don't even know what that is. I just love that you used YouTube.
Ray William Johnson. =3. That used to be like the most popular channel back then in 2010 or 11. And I would just watch those videos because he was him reacting to funny videos. But, I would just consume content like all day.
That's amazing.
And that's how I was able to, take a lot of information in and then be like, oh, okay, that's what that means. And that's what that means. And put two and two together. I also learned, here's a tip for if you're trying to learn a new language, don't translate, period. Learn anything new as a new concept. For example, if you want to learn what this is in Spanish, I'm going to tell you is a botella. Botella. In your head, you're not going to say, oh, that's a water bottle. Let me see how you say water bottle in Spanish. Botella. Oh, yeah, this is a botella. No, I teach you as a new name, as a new concept, so that you don't have to translate it in your head. So that's what I started doing. I started learning things as a new concept rather than translating it in my head, because I figured that while I was translating, I was losing the pace of the speaker, and I would lose a lot of words in the process while I was thinking of what he say and what that means in Spanish. So that worked for me.
That's brilliant.
Just learning something as a new concept, and I could just point and shoot and be like, camera, light, screen, without translating.
So you're saying, what you mean by that is like, instead of going, oh, I wonder how you say go to the bathroom, let me look that up. You're saying let it be in front of you in the moment, learn it in the moment. That's fascinating.
And there's multiple things that I know in English that I don't know how to translate in Spanish. And Spanish is my main language.
Yeah.
Because I just learned it as a concept, as a new thing. And the brain, I guess it's easier for him to understand, oh, it's a new thing that I just learned, rather than, oh, it's a new thing that I just learned, but now I got to know how to say it in Spanish, and what does that really mean? And some things don't really translate the same.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what works for me.
You're amazing. Absolutely amazing.